thank you for attending. We always begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in that corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All of our officers are present except for Richard Morgan. He's on vacation, good for him. We're a community-based organization, and our mission is to maintain and improve the quality of life in Commack. And I'm glad to see everyone come out on this occasion, and we'd love you to join us. We have applications right up here, and the only way we can do that is with a strong membership. So please, join us and come to our meetings, usually the end of the last Monday of each month, and we meet at the libraries. A few words about the procedures of this meeting. We'll open with statements by each of our invited guests. I've asked each guest to limit themselves to 10 minutes. We'll then open the meeting to questions from residents in attendance. Please limit yourself to one question in order to give everyone else an opportunity to ask a question. If we have time, we'll give residents a second opportunity to ask questions. Please keep questions brief and respectful. Please refrain from calling out or interrupting while others are speaking. The meeting is being videotaped and will be available on YouTube for anyone who wants to see it who is not in attendance today. And we'll need to be out of the library by 9 p.m. because they close the doors. So we'll get started and before we start, I just wanted to make a quote by one of the greatest American philosophers, Yogi Berra. And what Yogi said was, it was impossible to get a conversation going. Everybody was talking. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce our speakers. To my right is Mr. Gerard McCaffrey, President of Mercy First of Syosset.
I'm not a father.
He's not a father, I promoted him. And Mike Cantwell, a resident of Commack. Father Dennis Walker, the pastor of Holy Cross Lutheran Church. And Reverend Pastor Mark Herbst of the
Assistant to the Bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Can everybody repeat that?
Okay. I think there are seats over there, gentlemen, if you want to sit. Okay. Michael, go first.
All right. I don't know if you should stand up or sit down.
Whatever you feel comfortable doing. I think
stand up. I don't want to be rude, but Josephine, can you just get out like half the photos just so people get an idea of the location of the property on this side? They can distribute it. Just give out whatever. Yeah. Just pass like half. Just pass out the batch. People can pass it amongst themselves, and give half over here. They can pass them out. I just want to give you guys an idea of the property that would. Yeah. If anybody doesn't have any, go. Stand to the side. I just gave those photos out so maybe some people who are not familiar with the area can get an idea of what the property Holy Cross is about. So let me just, I'd like to thank the panel for letting me speak first. I asked to speak first to express community's concerns, and by doing that I hope that maybe a lot of questions that I'm going to ask during my speech won't be repeated by you guys and be answered by the panel. So let me start. Good evening. I'm going to read this because I got a lot of talking points and it's just a lot easier so I don't miss anything. My name is Michael Cantwell, and I live across the street from the Holy Cross Church on Verbena. Bruce Ettenberg asked me to speak to you tonight as a resident that's closely affected by the proposal to house a detention facility for refugees under 18 years old on Holy Cross Lutheran Church property. On Newsday, Bart Jones reported this morning that Holy Cross has dropped a proposal to house immigrant children. This article states this is due to missed deadlines and a future change in pastoral leadership at the Holy Cross Lutheran Church. The article states that the church is not pursuing the proposal now, but they could become a reality in the next few years. Reverend Hurst goes on to say in the article that the Lutheran leaders were not bowing down to the community pressure. So this proposal is not a dead issue. And we must assume that at some time in the near future it will be revisited. So I think it's important to get on record most of the community's feelings about this matter. It's important that it's known that at whatever time the Lutheran Church decides to revisit this proposal, that they know the community will stand up and oppose this matter. The issue of immigrant and refugee children coming into our country is a national issue that has now become a local one. I've spoken to many members of the community and have read many comments on social media. There's a majority of opposers to the church's plan and a very small minority who support their efforts. I'm here to speak for the majority. With the conversation and the debate lately, it's easy to lose sight of why we're here. The question is a small church within a residential community the right place to host a 24-hour-day transient shelter for 40 occupants with an unknown number of support staff? I emphatically say it's not. This is not about the people who will be housed at Holy Cross property, but it's where. In essence, it's a detention center in a tightly knit community within feet of our yards. And if you look at the pictures, it shows that. Holy Cross was built at about the same time as the homes within Mayfair, section of Commack, with the intent to be tied to the neighborhood. Mercy First has been brought up in comparison to Holy Cross's situation. Mercy First, at the Sayasa location, has been only accepting refugees for about the past year, but they've been providing social services and housing for children in need in a secluded neighborhood for over 120 years. The grounds of the Sisters of Mercy is a 96-hour property, 50 of which is used by Mercy First. It's a campus-like property with 10 cottages, dormitories, and support services with plenty of open space. Holy Cross is a 2-acre property nestled within a residential community on property which was not intended for institutional use. In no way will this be a self-contained location like Mercy First. So the comparison between the two is not a realistic one. It is my understanding that Holy Cross will lease the space to a third party with no ties to the neighborhood to run the facility. Holy Cross was only acting as a landlord capacity to collect rent, so the comparisons are far from the same. We've gathered some of the thoughts, most important concerns of the neighborhood within the community, and here's some of their thoughts. And these are issues that were brought to me by the local neighbors. Why? What is the church's motivation? They preach about how it's their duty to help. They mention how rental income is down. They're heavily in debt, and the church doesn't have the funds to keep the doors open. The project will bring free renovation to an old building and a stable influx of cash for the pastor and the church. In no way, if not now, maybe in the next application process under the new pastor. Reverend Hurst said it can happen down the line. Lutheran Social Services is participating in a grant program sponsored by the federal government. The program will bring thousands of dollars to the church. It's been reported the church would receive about $8,000 to $10,000 per month just to lease the space, which is tax-free for the church. It's noted that the church's current debt is about $25,000, and while acting as landlord in this operation, the Holy Cross would receive about $360,000 or 14 times the current debt in 36 months. It's not about the money, but it sure helps. Who's in charge? Who will the vendor be of this facility? What is their track record? What is their experiences? My research shows that many of the jobs available at these locations are low-paying and only require GED or high school diploma. How do they propose to screen these employees, and what are their background checks? Crime and safety. 30 to 40 individuals will be housed in a 1 to 4 week stint. Conservative estimate is about 60 people per month, 700 a year, 2,100 in 3 years. How do we know 100% that not one of them are criminals, sex offenders, or affiliated with street gangs? Some of these teenagers have nothing to lose and no roots in the community. There's no way to prevent a spike in crime or legal activity. We have no idea of their backgrounds. The church has claimed that the teens won't be allowed to leave the building, but I know that's not true. This is the document that they're going to be applying for. I've read through it. Does this mean the building would have the infrastructure to prevent teens from leaving or wanting wanting to escape for other reasons. Or our concerns not only applies to the shelter occupants, but the unknown visitors who will be now frequenting our area. Today, our spouses and children can walk to Mayfair Shopping Center without a second thought for their safety. Kids play basketball in their front yards, ride bikes down the block, that all ends. Peace of mind and safety is the top of the list of the community. Can the Lutheran Church guarantee our safety? Health issues, concerns. It's unclear whether these individuals will have proper vaccinations, whether they be required to have them. Who would monitor this? Pollution. You're adding a 24/7 facility in a quiet residential area. There will be a definite increase in traffic and congestion. How will the church or the unknown vendor handle the increased waste generated from 40 individuals living in a building, plus caretakers and visitors? How will they contain the noise pollution and loitering and parking situations? Education. It's been said that the children will be educated in-house. What about the children with special needs? What happens if they're there over 30 days? Would the district have responsibility? The daycare. The JKL Montessori is currently operating and has been serving the community for over 19 years. It's been said that daycare can remain open. I don't know anyone who would send their child to a daycare attached to a detention center. The owner will be driven out of business or forced to move. Where do these kids go? If that happens down the road, what do the 40-plus families that rely on the daycare do? Our property values. As you drive around the evolving neighborhood, you'll see a mix of new homeowners, as well as families who've been here for generations. We all used our life savings to invest in this town and community. There's no doubt that this will drive property values, not only of Urbina Drive down, but across the town. As Urbina properties goes down, so does Walter Court and Astor, and so on. If property values go down, it's doubtful property taxes do the same. People discussing moving out of the area if Holy Cross is allowed to move this project forward. The attention. Does this neighborhood and Lutheran Church want this unwanted and unnecessary attention? Do we want to have protesters parading around our block? Constant media news, like today, on our corners. So what happens after? The church plans to house people for a minimum of 3 years. After the proposed 3 years, which will be likely extended. But if not, what happens next? There will be an empty dormitory-type structure. It would be hard to believe that they would change it back to the previous condition at a price that would cost the church almost about the same they were paid in rent. One would have to assume it would be the next rehab facility, halfway house, or the next short-stay hotel in Commack. What's going to happen next? Does the council have to vote on this? If so, when? When does the congregation have to vote on this? If so, when? It's been said the church has missed the application process. Reverend Herbst said it can happen down the line. In my opinion, that was always the intent. The application process was open for 60 days, from June 6th of 2014 till August 5th of 2014. If the church needed the proposal, if the church needed the approved proposal from the council and congregation, there's no way that they were going to get the application prior to the August 5th deadline. The 2015 fiscal year begins on October 1st of this year, and sometime after that, a new application will be available to file. The notion that the future transition of the Holy Cross leadership is a non-factor here. Lutheran Social Services are experts in the administrative process of obtaining federal grants. The church has successfully received grants in New York State and other parts of the country. To say we're not pursuing this right now is an attempt to pacify the opposition in the interim and quietly reapply in the future. These are all valid concerns, but just some of them. The people of Mayfair and Commack understand the issue of immigrant and refugee children is not going away. The ELCE must also ask themselves, are the locations they choose for the shelters the right place? Will this detention center have an immediate, negative, long-lasting impact on the surrounding community? I believe it will be in this case, and many of the people here think so too. So what do we do? What can we do from the community standpoint? Right now, things are on hold. We can try to help to find a new tenant for the vacant space that Lilyfoot Daycare had. Is there any alternative funding available for the local, county, state, or even the church? Hopefully we can share some ideas and come up with some alternative funding for the vacant space. The community and Holy Cross have been together for 57 years. We want to be good neighbors, and we want Holy Cross to be good neighbors as well. We hope the ELCA, Lutheran Social Services, and Holy Cross will conclude that their proposal to forward their strategic plan is not suited for this location, and that it can still fulfill their mission in a location that's suitable for everyone. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.
Before we go, there are people standing and there are seats in here. Is there anyone who would like to have a seat? There are seats available.
How many seats we got in the back there?
Got a bunch of seats right over there.
There's a bunch of people parking at the church. I'm walking up, that's where.
There are seats back there. On that side, there are seats. Okay, everyone wants a seat? Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to turn it over to Reverend Walker.
Good evening, my name is Dennis Walker, I'm pastor of Holy Cross Lutheran Church, and I want to welcome all of you here tonight. And, I want to express our desire to be a good neighbor in the community, to provide information about this proposed program, give the best answers that we can right now, and listen to the community concerns, and as he mentioned previously, perhaps receive suggestions about what we could do with our space that has become available. I want to stress tonight, nothing official has been done at this point. We are still examining ideas related to our mission. No contracts have been let, nothing has been signed, no formal proposals have been received. We did suddenly lose a nursery daycare program in June, leaving some empty space. We asked, made inquiries if the Universal Pre-K New York State system could use our facilities, and they did not. They said that they had surplus, so they weren't interested in ours. We also we're thinking about expanding the JKL program to fill that space. Lutheran Social Services, known as LSS, reached out to us with the program known as Safe Haven for Children. Holy Cross and other locations were being surveyed. As we understood it, the program was to aid immigrant children, principally coming from the southern border, from ages 4 to 17, in transit to families, in most cases, with a closed campus concept. Modifications to our building to be paid for by LSS, and a use fee for our facility on a 3-year contract. I contacted my bishop's office and asked him if he knew about this program in LSS, and he said that he did, and he thought that it was a worthwhile effort, and he urged us to give it consideration. So why would we as a neighborhood church consider this proposal to aid immigrant children? Well, we are an immigrant church with a long history of helping new residents in the United States. We thought that it might fit into our mission by helping kids and helping the government enforce its own existing immigration law at the same time. The Border Patrol, as you may have read, has been strained with numbers of unaccompanied minors crossing the border. They're not particularly equipped for child care, and in some cases, children have been kept in animal shelters. So they're trying to get a handle on the problem, and the numbers have decreased recently. So why would we consider this from a religious point of view? What is it in our mission or in our makeup that would indicate that we might consider this? Well, to start with, we believe in the United States we are an immigrant nation, so if you're not related to Indians, you're probably related to somebody who was originally an immigrant in this country, unless, of course, you're an American Indian. And this reminds us from the scriptures, which are the rule, source, and norm of Lutheran doctrine and teaching, that there was a charge from God to Israel in ancient times to be good to strangers. I'd like to read a brief quote from Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 17. For the Lord your God is the God of gods and Lord of lords, the great God, mighty and awesome, who is not partial and takes no bribe, who executes justice for the orphan and the widow, and who loves the strangers, providing them food and clothing. You shall love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Your ancestors went down to Egypt, 70 persons, and now the Lord your God has made you as numerous as the stars of heaven. In addition, there's a reference to the New Testament from the presiding bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, the Reverend Elizabeth Eaton. She says this: the Holy Family was undocumented when they fled to Egypt because their lives were threatened by King Herod. The children entering the United States have fled because their lives are in danger. God is their ultimate hope, and we can be a sign of that hope. In addition, parables of Jesus from the New Testament indicate to us mercy for strangers and people who are in low regard. In the parable of the sheep and the goats, the sheep are rewarded by Jesus at the final judgment by offering food and drink and clothing and shelter to those who were sick and poor. And they're very surprised, the sheep are, when they hear this, and they say, why are we being rewarded? And the answer of Jesus is, in so far as you did it to the least of these people, you did it to me. And also the parable of the Good Samaritan is well known by many people. It concerns a Jewish traveler on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho, which was in ancient times a very dangerous road. He is beaten and left at the side of the road by highwaymen. 3 of his fellow Jewish travelers pass by. The only one to help him is the Good Samaritan. I think we miss some of the impact of this shocking parable of Jesus unless we understand that there was ethnic hatred between Samaritans and Jews for centuries before this. So to cite the Good Samaritan indicates mercy for the stranger and mercy across ethnic lines. So this was some of our thinking in even considering the proposal. And the other thing is that we have a group home right across the street. If you look at your photo, just on the other side of Mayfair Terrace, is a group home that's been there for over 20 years. And I didn't even know it was a group home for a couple of years myself. And it seems to me that they've done okay there. Of course, that doesn't guarantee anything in our location, but it does indicate that there are group homes other than single-family homes in the area. Thank you for your attention, and Reverend Herbst follows me.
Reverend Herbst? Oh, no. Hold your questions. We will have a question and answer period, I promise.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Reverend Mark Herbst. I'm the assistant to the bishop for the New York Metropolitan Region, which encompasses about 200 congregations and ministries throughout Long Island, the 5 boroughs of New York City, and 7 northern counties. And my responsibility as the bishop's assistant is handling the strategic plan for all of the congregations in our ministries. And we call it the Claim, Gathered, Sent strategy. I'm not going to go in long detail, but just to give you a little bit about what our responsibilities are. Claimed, we consider, is who we are, it's our theology, what do we believe, and how we identify ourselves. The gathered part of the strategy deals with where do we meet, where are our churches located, what is the leadership, how do we minister our sacraments to each other. And the sent strategy is what do we do in the world. We are called to be good people, to minister the word of Christ, and to go out into the community, into the world. That's what we've been commissioned to do. So the sent strategy is something that we find very important in our faith tradition. And we have what we call 5 lenses as we develop this strategy that we try to implore all our individual congregations to look at, dealing with different subjects. And when congregations are interested in starting new ministries, new ideas, looking to help those around them, we ask them to look, where does it fit in those categories? And they are education, and I'm probably going to forget one, so please forgive me. Employment, families, I know I'm going to forget one. Let me just, the one you're concerned about tonight is immigration. It's a major concern that we have. We work with refugees. We deal with that throughout the nation, throughout the globe, dealing with issues to help people who are in war-torn countries, people who are being persecuted for whatever reason, people who are in pain and suffering. We don't look at borders. We look to care and show compassion to people. So when a congregation wants to start a ministry, we ask, do you fall in one of those categories? I'll think of the last one soon. So my responsibility is to work with those congregations and talk about those things that are needed. And so that's what we've been doing throughout our ministries, to talk about where it fits in the overall scheme. Now you get down to, I'm sure, so you're interested, how's this decision going to be made? So let me just explain some of the decision-making process of the Lutheran Church. So, other faith traditions, the Catholic Church, we all understand, the Pope makes a decision, it's the decision. Well, the Lutheran faith broke away from that because we were the church that was the Reformation. We broke away from all of that, so our power base, our decision-making is from the bottom up. So we are a congregationally based faith group. So most of the decisions come from the congregations. And I tell you that for a reason so you understand in this process how that works. And the next level, what we call the synod, which is similar to a diocese, and then we have a church-wide and a worldwide. So that's really the structure that we have. And when we make decisions, it's really at what level. And we, through the bishop's office, make those recommendations. But the ultimate decision is with the congregation. The congregation has the power of what type of ministry they decide to elect and choose to do. And so that's really how the process works. Now, with this particular issue, it falls within one of our lenses of strategy is to help the refugees and immigrants. That falls into the category. That's something that we look at throughout our entire territory of ministry to see where it would best fit. This service, family services, education, whatever it is, employment services, they may be opportunities as well that we would encourage and work with our congregations. But the decision comes from the local level. That's where the decision's made. So we will talk and dialogue about those different programs. In this particular case, what happened was Lutheran Social Services, which is a not-for-profit organization, the church does not run it. It's a separate entity. But of course, it's a faith-based organization that works very closely with us, which we can understand. Catholic Charities is no different with their relationship with the Roman Catholic Church. They are a not-for-profit organization. They are one of our partners in ministry, among many others. Others that provide housing services, food for the elderly, you name it. We work with all types of different ministries. And so what we do is they've come around and said, we've got this program, we have this issue that we know the nation is facing. We are looking to see if we can help through our services and our program. Do you know of any locations where that might be a possibility? And lo and behold, there is vacant space that was created by a school that left Holy Cross. So Lutheran Services picked up the phone, called Pastor Walker and said, we understand you have space and we have this program. Pastor Walker, from my understanding, says, I don't know much about the program, but if you want to talk to me, the policy is you got to talk to the council. What is this all about? And is anybody on Facebook? Facebook or social media? What a perfect example. Lutheran Social Services simply was going to come out and talk about the program, not even if it was going to be here or not. All of a sudden, you're reading the papers and the media and everybody else, everybody getting up in arms because you're going to house 1,000 immigrants crossing the border at this local church. When the congregation council had never even heard a word other than an inquiry saying, are you interested in talking to us? Well, what are you talking about? Explain it to me. Never even got to that stage. And then we read about how it's being rejected because of community opposition. There was never a proposal to consider. But it's part of the mission of the church that we do. It's something we provide. Now, if this is going to be real, and Mike hit it on the head, he was absolutely right. The funding, they set up a meeting, and many people showed up from the community. The deadline was the next morning. This was not happening. This is something that could happen down the road. But it was like, are you interested? Do you have the facility? Is this a community that would want to engage in such a program? That question was never even asked at that point. It was never asked. And, again, the decision-making process goes with the congregation council. They may elect to do that. I don't know if they will or not. But they also may elect to have a service provider for Alzheimer's. They may decide to have a soup kitchen, something for the mentally ill, something for early child education. It could be any type of ministry that could go forward. But what we recommend through the bishop's office, when you start a new strategy, you dialogue with our office, we will come in and help you. Number one, we are a ministry first and foremost in our congregations to the communities. There must be some type of communication plan regardless of what your ministry is or what your proposal is. Because the last thing we want to hear is what we're hearing now. You read these blogs in the newspapers, all these racists, these bigots, you're all prejudiced, you hate these people. I honestly don't believe that's true. But I do believe you've got concerns about your homes, your livelihood, your children, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They are legitimate concerns. Mike read off a whole list of questions and concerns. That's exactly the process that we would have if this was a real concrete proposal that anyone wanted to advance. We would insist those questions, that dialogue, take place. But social media is something new. A simple phone call asking, would you consider this? And this is what took off, before anybody could even talk. Can we talk to you and ask you if you're interested? All of a sudden it just took a life of its own. And that's really the process. So some of the questions we're talking about, we've got a communication issue that we need to take care of no matter what takes place on that site. And the ministry is for the community. We are here to serve the community. That's our role. That's our role as a faith body, to be available and to be a welcoming community to all. And so this proposal, or whatever ministry goes in there, that's what will take place. And we also hear about financial concerns. Like any business, not-for-profit organization, you got to pay to turn the lights on. But that's not the driving force. Not in ministry. That's the secondary concern. Everybody's got financial concerns. If I talk to any one of you, you don't have money to do whatever you want to do. So I don't buy that as an excuse. Is it a concern? Absolutely. But that's not the priority of the church. So I hope you sincerely understand that. It's the ministry. It's what we do and what's the best ministry for this community or any other community, regardless of your faith tradition. Any other faith body would be saying the same thing. That's our mission, to help and serve others, especially those on the margin. Now, the polity of our church. I told you, the congregation has the ability to make the decisions. If there is a change in the pastoral leadership, at that time, the synod tells the congregation, this is now a time designated for discernment of your ministry. What does that mean? It's not look in the phone book and look in the want ads and say, okay, we need a new pastor, who looks good, we're going to hire them. There's a process. And the first thing a congregation must do is go through this discernment process where we require the congregation council at the local level to actually assess themselves. Who are you? What is your ministry? And where do you see your future? And we make them complete what we call a congregational profile document, which is very exhaustive, talking about the plant facility, the worship style, the ministries you have, you name it, it's covered. And it takes about 6 to 9 months to go through that document, gather that information, have meetings and conversation with each other to find out who you really are and where you want to go. Once that's completed, then the congregation is asked to form what we call a call committee. The call committee is a group of individuals that are selected to decide and pick who the next leader, the pastoral leader, would be of that ministry. Pastor Walker is anticipating retiring. God bless you. And maybe sooner than we thought. But once there's a vacancy in any congregation, we go through this process. And the reason is, if you're going to have a certain ministry or do a certain thing, you want the ideal leader to be there, don't you? If you're going to pick a ministry that is about global mission, it's about immigration, then the pastor that we're looking, the bishop would recommend someone likely who's got those skills and training. Somebody who knows those types of things, if they are available. If this congregation decided that's what they want, they may decide this is not the way to go. And I can't say what is in their minds and in their hearts, what they believe the most effective mission is for them. But as they discern that, then the bishop would recommend candidates who would probably be the best fit. If they decide to go with elderly care in that space, and we get someone there. It would be nice to have someone who has a background in chaplaincy, in hospitals, and nursing, that sort of thing. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what we would look for. The leadership for the ministry, that's there. And right now, we haven't even entered the discernment process. So we don't know what we're going to do. Now, from the Synod level, a proposal comes forward for a new ministry. Our recommendation is, that's great. We're excited. This is what we want done. But is now the time to make a decision to do that particular ministry? When you know where you are, and we're going to be asking you to analyze yourselves. So when you say, you quoted me in the paper saying, oh, it's not going to happen now, but it looks like it's going to. I can't predict what's going to happen. But the thing I can tell you is the communication and the conversations we're having today, they must take place. And your concerns and your questions must be addressed because they're legitimate. They're real. You're shutting me off.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have Mr. Gerard McCaffrey, who's the president of Mercy First in Syosset.
So, I think Michael kind of gave somewhat of a description of who we are at Mercy First. We have no connection with what the possibilities might be with Holy Cross. In fact, when I saw the article today, I even asked, are you still having this community meeting or not? Because I can do something else this evening rather than come here.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yes, but, so I was invited to come just to kind of talk about the fact that at Mercy First, we do a variety of social services. We've been around for 120 years. We do have a campus in Syosset, 50 acre, where we have 120 adolescents who have placed with us. We have a school on our grounds. We operate 24/7. We also have group homes in the community, a fairly large family foster care program in Brooklyn, Queens, and Suffolk. So we do a variety of different things. And one of the things that we do and have done for at least the last 6 months, and we did a little bit a year back, is working with this population, immigrant children. And so I think the feeling was that I might be able to just talk about our experience providing this service, maybe answer some questions about who the kids are and what kind of issues that we see with these kids. But all that is kind of separate from, I think, what we just heard explained about what process the church goes through in terms of deciding what it is that they're going to do. So we have a grant through the federal government. We've had it since last fall to provide housing up to 50 kids at a time. We go probably from infants up to age 17. That's the cutoff. And infants only when they're with a teen mother. But we have had individual kids as young as 5 years old. In that circumstance, a 5-year-old kid came to the Texas border with his uncle, who is probably in his 20s. And when they came to the border and were met by Border Patrol, the uncle, who was over the age of 18, got put into a detention facility for adults, because that's what happened. And the young child was placed in a reception center near the border until there could be a decision made as to where the youngster was going to be cared for on a short-term basis. So that youngster came to us with a whole bunch of other kids, wide in range of who they were, to kind of stay on our campus until we could work with the federal government in figuring out where this child's family was in the United States, whether it's a birth parent, an aunt, an uncle, could be a cousin, whatever. The splurge that you saw in the newspaper, it was hard to miss it over the last month or so, has actually kind of lessened at this point, not for any reason other than it's summer. And down in Central America at this point, the temperatures are extremely high, which makes it very difficult for kids to be moving essentially 1,500 miles by foot and by train. So it kind of just follows a pattern of things get kind of quiet now and then they pick up again in late fall. The feds do say that most kids would be in a shelter program. It's not we don't refer it as a detention center, but I think that phrase gets used quite a bit. It's a shelter, it's not a locked facility. For a period of, originally they said up to 30 days, but because of the large number of kids coming to the border, they were looking for us to kind of hook up these kids with their families even faster than would be ordinary. So our kids have been staying with us about 2 to 3 weeks. So It's a lot of kids coming through in a short period of time. We do have a health office on our campus with physicians and nurses. So there is a lot of services that are contained, just a part of who we are. I would say to you that the kids really are incredibly grateful for coming to us and finding themselves in a safe place. And I think you can imagine if you read any of the stories of what these kids have gone through, you can kind of appreciate that stuff. They're willing to kind of do anything you ask of them because they know that they have an opportunity to possibly stay in the United States under a law that was passed in 2008, given the circumstances going on in their country. So our experience has been that these kids don't want to do anything that's going to kind of screw that up. Because they eventually will be scheduled to go for a hearing with the Department of Immigration, and they'll make a review of their situation and a decision made as to whether or not there's any basis for this youngster to kind of stay in the United States. And if not, then they get returned to their home country. So the kids really have not been, problematic at all. It's actually been kind of nice, because most of the kids we work with are, kids who've had a number of issues, our own kids from Nassau, Suffolk, in the city. So it's actually kind of refreshing for staff. When it comes to health issues, we have not seen anything with the kids that are different than any of our own kids who come to us at this point. Most of the kids, when you think of what they've gone through in terms of this journey, are in kind of remarkable good health. We have had a couple of kids who had pneumonia, mostly because they didn't have any health treatment during the time that they probably first started getting sick until the time they finally got to us. They really don't get a lot of services when they first go into a reception center down in Texas. So they end up being hospitalized for a short period of time. The hospital ends up billing the feds for that, for providing that service. We had a couple of cases actually of appendicitis, but that was really about it. We've had nothing about TB. They do get inoculated, immunization when they come to us. And it actually turns out in Central America that, like, say, for measles, they probably have about the same percentage of kids who get inoculated as we do in the States. So we've not seen any health issues. And you should understand, I have other kids on the campus that we are responsible for. I have staff who work for me who have their own families. So, it's not like we're looking to take risks in terms of people being around somebody who might be with something contagious. There's a lot of questions about, gang issues. And I even had a friend of mine send me on Facebook today this picture of these 6 guys who, I'm not even sure their mother could love them, but, heavily tattooed faces, gang members down in Central America. And my friend said, I understand these guys are slipping in with the kids. I said, well, I don't know. I think if their mother does love them, I think they would probably be able to pick these kids out from the kids who are 5, 6, 7, 12 years old. These are the people that the kids are running from. So we've not had any gang issues. We've had a couple of kids who have talked about, that they are looking to get involved in gangs, and we get immediately in contact with the feds, and those kids are pulled out that day or the next day and placed in a secure setting until the Department of Homeland Security can decide, what's the story, and if anything, they probably have just increased their chances of being deported. But we've not had any gang-related issues at all. Again, we've only been doing this for 6 months, but that's the fact. When it comes down to education, I know there was some concern about what happens with the youngsters if they stay longer than 2 weeks or whatever. Part of our federal grant, and probably would be too for anyone else, is that you are funded for providing teachers, certified teachers, who do provide educational services for those kids for the time that they're with you, whether that's for a week, 2 weeks, a month, or if it would go on longer. The kids don't attend the community school, and that's not part of the plan. In terms of what happens when they leave you, originally the plan with the feds is that if they had a kid who, let's say, is from Guatemala and gets picked up at the border and says that he has family in New York, the plan would be is for that kid to be grouped with a number of other kids from, let's say, New York or the Northeast, and go to a place like, say, Mercy First, so they'd be close to where their family is. When everything got crazy at the border, when these kids were just kind of coming from all over, all the feds started doing at that point was, they had a group of 20 kids that went on a charter flight and they were brought to wherever it was that they had beds. So kids were all over the place. We have not had a lot of kids. We've had some, a handful, probably less than a dozen, who have had any relatives in the New York area. So those kids, they could have family in California, Missouri, anywhere in the country. They could be back in Texas. So they could end up being picked up at the Texas border, brought to New York, and then shipped back down to Texas when they identify who that family is. But hopefully as things settle down, they get back to what their original plan is, which is trying to have kids go in areas where their family is. So that's, a little bit of our experience with these kids, and I'd be happy to answer more if people have questions.
Thank you very much.
Families of the
And-
children,
and-
legal or
And,
illegal?
well, if you please don't pull out.
I will call out,
before-
this is a public meeting.
Before we...
I was baptized in this church. I grew up here.
I understand, we have a procedure,
Hello,
you'll have a chance to ask the
1957, I was
question.
baptized in this church.
But
I have
please
questions.
don't interrupt the meeting.
Well, I'm asking a question.
But there are other people
Families
here
of
who
the
would like to ask
children,
questions.
legal or
Officer,
illegal?
could you remove this man, please? Everyone has a chance to ask a question, but it's not okay to interrupt the meeting. Fine, and if he wants to stay, he can stay, but he can't interrupt it. I just asked him to. I just asked him to stop, and he didn't.
You just said have him removed.
No, I asked him to stop, but he said he wouldn't. Okay. Before we answer questions, I want to let you know that Ms. Katie Holtz from Congressman Israel's office is here. Would you identify yourself, Ms. Holtz? She's over there. If you'd like to ask any questions of her after the meeting, she'll meet you outside. You could ask her anything you'd like, but she's not going to be speaking at this meeting. Now we can get to the questions of the residents, and this young lady has been here since 6 o'clock. So please ask your questions.
My question, my solution is to the church. You speak about faith, you speak about scripture, about helping other ethnicities. What about all the different faiths in Commack? What about all these different ethnicities sitting here? I'm going to read something. People of faith have a logical idea of what life is all about. There is a wide variation in the way each one of us approaches and conceives the power greater than ourselves. Whether we agree with a particular approach or conception seems to make little difference. There are questions for each of us to settle for ourselves. We are entitled as a community of faith to say to you, no, we don't like this idea. Can we come up with another solution together? And I believe that all of us together are willing to help you come up with a better solution. I, for one, will volunteer my efforts, as many hours as I need to help the church come up with a solution other than housing the immigrant children. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your concern.
Young lady, over here.
Part two.
If you could tell us your name and where you live, that'd be good.
Hi. Part two to what you just stated about wanting to help the church with another solution would be that the kids in Commack have nowhere to go, nowhere to hang out. Help us, and we could help you if you set up, let's say, a community center where the kids have some place to go, let's say on a Friday night or a Saturday. Pool tables, anything like that for our Commack kids. Maybe they could pay for the service. I would much rather have that.
You envision a community center for Commack teens?
Yes, I would
Yes.
rather
I
have
would
that.
volunteer my
And I
time.
would support that.
Gentleman in the back,
Yeah, Ken Fenstra, Hop Hog.
thanks for introducing yourself.
You're welcome. This is directed at either one of the reverends. I'm confused. Tell me the difference between immigrants and refugees.
Well, sometimes they're separate, sometimes they're the same.
No, that's not an answer. Immigrants, we're all,
Immigrants are foreigners traveling to
okay, what's a refugee?
Refugee is leaving because of a crisis. They're leaving because it's a war-torn country. They're being persecuted.
So they can come in
They're
the back door.
escaping, that's what a refuge is.
They come in the back door. Immigrants come in the front door.
No, wait. Let's give some other people a chance. There are a lot of people here. I promise I'll come back. That's the answer he gave you.
But I don't accept that.
Okay, but let's give some other people a chance to ask a question.
Okay.
Bob?
I'm gonna think of right off what you said, okay? I'm a member of this organization since its infancy, but I don't speak for the organization, I speak for myself. I'm a resident here, and I've grown up in this town, okay? Now, I've been an airline pilot for 25 years, okay? And I have been in and out of Central America hundreds of times. Not once, not twice, hundreds, okay? I have sometimes bring deportees back to their country. In the summertime like now, I might bring 50 people on an airplane into Central America. In our airline, other airlines, the good people of America send tens of thousands of people down to these areas to help out down there, okay? Now, as he said, what is the difference? Now, I've been there. I'm just gonna think that most of you have not been there. I have been down there. I know the area very well. So I would like to know where is the place that these people say refugees? It seems to me that the narrative has changed in this country. I don't know if it's political correctness. I don't know if it's trying to get an immigration bill through the House to pass. I don't know what it is. But it went from illegal immigration to refugee. Someone tell me, I've been there. Where are these places that they're going from? Where?
Thank you. Anybody want to answer that?
Sir, I would just like to say that we are not in the position, it's not our role to make that definition. That's by the federal government who's ministering the program. So it's unfair to ask us to make that definition. I'm not skirting the issue, I hear what you're saying.
By what he's
It's
doing,
legitimate.
you're giving support to that.
Wait, please don't pull out. Give everyone a chance to speak. Anyone else want to answer that question? Young lady in the back?
Claire Garris, Commack. It's not really an answer, but I'm just curious myself to the first question, because obviously I'm not from here, but I am a United States citizen. So I am confused myself because I don't know. I have people like my own, I have my own family that's not allowed to be here. They've tried through numerous amount of paperwork to get here. They've come here, have asked to leave. Like, they're not able to come here. So for me, you know, I came to Commack because, you know, I wanted my children to have a good place to live. I felt the town and the community was great, or is great, but, you know, because I guess from where I am from my country, I don't understand my own relatives aren't allowed to be here. They're going through all the right things to get here legally. But, you know, people say immigration, but isn't it illegal immigrants that you're allowing to stay in your, that's my problem. The word alone is confusing me.
I agree with Mark. We're not in the business of defining what's illegal.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We're assisting,
I promise, raise your hand, I'll call him.
we're assisting the government in enforcing their own law.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know, just for me, it's just not fair, like I
We're
said.
not breaking any laws ourselves.
No, but you're saying, or my understanding from what I'm getting, this whole thing, is that you're going to ask us is, and I hate to say it, because it will come down to money eventually. The money is going to come down from my pocket, because I'm going to pay for illegal immigrants, or people that, I don't know any other way to say it, that don't belong here, I don't,
My
you know.
term is
So-
undocumented.
I'm sorry?
I submit,
There goes the
I
political
submit
correctness.
nobody's
You're
illegal,
100% right.
because if you believe in creation by God, we're all equal.
I don't embarrass Gentlemen, over there.
We're all equal.
Your question.
Yes, by you saying that, and it's not your decision to define it, you're giving support to it. So in other words,
I just used the term
you're giving
undocumented.
the federal government
Doesn't that mean the same thing?
a head of steam to go ahead with what they're doing. If enough people say, no, this is not what we want, this is not right for the country, and really that's really what it is. It's not even on a local level, it's on a federal level. It's not right for the country.
This is not an amnesty program, we're helping the government enforce their own laws.
But by you opening the doors, and you staying away from the definition, not your definition, you're giving the federal government a head of steam to go ahead with this. If they get support with it and they find people being entitled, and it puts stress on all the taxpayers.
We don't do it, somebody else will, because the government's gonna have to contract.
That's just group mentality, and that's just a group thing.
Wait, have your chance, yes. Let's give other people a chance, please. Young lady.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something. You mentioned the house on Mayfair Terrace that has 8 residents, 4 adults. It has got the land, it's got 3/4 of an acre. You have 2 acres of land, housing 70 children. It's totally unmentionable. It's no better than a prison.
I didn't know how many were there.
There's 8 adults, and they have been there 20 years. I visit them very often, I volunteer there.
And they're citizens.
And this, forget about citizens, let's just.
Wait, let's not have forced discussion.
Okay, let's forget about that. You mainly, they have 3/4 of an acre, they have rooms for those children, those adults, they're adults. They go to, they leave there, they go to programs, they come back, they have a unit, they can walk to the shopping center, they can spend their money. These kids are gonna be detained. No, and 70 of them in a 2-acre land. It's ridiculous.
For about the money.
It's
inhumane.
I want to give everyone who wants to a chance to speak.
It's me.
You want to stand up?
I feel that, I guess the community is afraid because they hear one little thing, yeah, you said everybody pounced down, came down to the church and, had a lot to say before they had the facts. But the thing is, nowadays, it seems like things are done backdoor ways. We can say we don't want something, and it passes. It always passes, no matter how many people disagree. And we say, in America, everybody talks to me, I don't like that, and then it passes. One last thing, undocumented children. So I'm 16, I'm across the border, but guess what? I'm probably 28. Because I'm 16, maybe I'm 12, but guess what? If I'm undocumented, how can you prove that I'm not 16?
Right.
That's not fair, because you don't know if they're probably adults.
Gentleman over here.
Hi, Steve Wall, I'm from Dix Hills. It's obvious to me, at least, that we have a president and an administration that's hell-bent on destroying this country. And they're doing people coming back into this country that have been deported, that have raped women, that have killed people, that have gotten involved in car accidents, that have injured and maimed. Why do you want to bring these people in? For the money? That's why. We don't want them, and we're not going to tolerate it.
Caffrey, I mean, we can call them illegal, that's perfectly fine by me. They are here legally. No, they're not.
Gentlemen, give him
Adults, there is a law that
give him a chance to speak.
There is a law that was passed in 2008, before the end of the Bush administration, with bipartisan support in both the House and the Senate, to allow these kids to be considered refugees. So that's why when they're met.
Please give him a chance. Please give him a chance to speak. I promise you, if you want to raise your hand, I'll call on you, but give him a chance to speak.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
That's the story. So
All right.
whatever you want.
This young lady over here.
I really just have a quick question.
She was here since 6 also.
I live in Commack, 14 years, my husband grew up here. You say you want to be a good neighbor. I have to read it because I'm nervous. And because of that, I'm just confused as to why, seeing all of, if you want to call this outrage, or obviously very strong concern, you seeing this from a very small population of a community who many more feel that way, why you wouldn't just drop this whole situation, promise us you will not refile in October, and listen to us and help you think of, other solutions. And if it is coming down to the fact that your congregation and the members of your church need to really make the decision ultimately, then please, put us in contact with your congregation. Let them hear our concerns, and let us figure out another solution, because this is a small population of many, many other residents who feel this way. And if you're seeing this outrage and you're seeing this upset from people who have lived here their whole lives and for a long time and who are raising their children here, why wouldn't you just drop it and think of another alternative?
Can we hear an answer to that?
Can I just
Reverend Herbst?
once again reiterate, this was a proposal, and you say reapply, it never applied, it never got to that.
Okay, but promise us right now, you won't apply in October. Promise us you'll give us a year or two. I don't mean to raise my voice, let me stand up. Promise us you'll give us a year, hear us out, let us find other ways. A lot of us are in the school district, we buy winter coats and mittens for the needy families in our, Commack is a giving community. I can give you a 10-page list of how we help victims from Hurricane Sandy and people in our community and everything else. People from all different walks of life. Let your congregation speak to us. Let us find another way, because this is upsetting us a lot. And is it really worth it to you to put our community through this?
This is exactly what I said earlier. You made the proposal, I agree with you. If any proposal moves forward, it must have dialogue and communication with everyone involved. That's you. It must be that regardless.
Where is here to hear us speak our concern? Where are the people in our congregation tonight so that they can see our faces and see how upset we
The
are?
reason we called this meeting tonight was because of the unscheduled meeting of August 4th. It was put out on Facebook as a meeting, which it wasn't. And we were not able to share details we are tonight. That's why I worked with Bruce to bring you all in here tonight. And I appreciate your coming and talking to us, and we will keep your concerns in mind. And we didn't want to make it appear that we don't want to hear the community. So that's why we're here
And I
tonight.
appreciate that, but can you give us a year? Can you give us a year, 2 years, to work on a different solution before you move forward on this? Can you make a guarantee
That
that
might
you
be
give
the
us
reality.
that
That is the reality. It's gonna have to be.
Young lady over here.
Diana Marshall, Commack. Hi. You speak of being a good neighbor, you speak about communication. When we had that initial meeting on August 4th, we were just looking for information. That's all we wanted. And you didn't afford us that opportunity, so now this is what you have outrage. No, you shoot us away, you tried to get us by fire code or fire, we're gonna shut this meeting down. We just wanted information. Maybe you should have spoken. You're very well-spoken, you're very intelligent, you have a lot of information on this topic. Maybe you should have spoken to us. Maybe you should have had that information for us. We weren't awarded that opportunity, and we now feel we can't trust you.
That's why you have tonight. We listened for an hour and a half tonight.
Young lady over here.
You had said before, that each parish chooses their mission, okay? And it's not about money, is what you said. It is not about money. If it's not about money, why can't we help our American citizens, our veterans? There's people that are homeless, they're asking for money, they need shelter, they need places to live.
Well, if we got a proposal for that, we would consider it.
Well, I think
We
we
don't have one right
should
now.
seek that out, because right now you're bringing in more refugees illegally, which is perpetuating a bad situation. These kids coming, if they're 16 years old, they don't speak English, what are they going to do with their lives? What are they going to become? Are they going to become productive United States citizens? No. They're going to take down the United States. So the church, as I see it, is helping take down the United States instead of helping veterans, our people who are here working hard.
Well, if we had a proposal to help veterans, we would consider it.
And where do you get that proposal? Where would you look for that?
Yes.
From the government with funding.
But the government's not gonna fund
Let's not have
this
it.
pays them all. Is there
We have-
anything you can make that would pay you
Can we
more?
can we give somebody else a chance? Okay?
Where's my answer?
He just did. You have
Where
another
can you get the
answer?
funding? I'm asking you, where can you get the funding? If nothing else pays as much as the taking in illegals, none of them are for adoption?
Well, we have to, not only a matter of money, if it fits in our situation, our neighborhood, and our
No, it
self-identity.
doesn't fit. You know
the
you're perpetuating a bad situation.
I'd like,
What could
ma'am,
pay you?
ma'am,
It's only
I'd like
money?
to give somebody else a
So
chance.
it's only money?
Ma'am, I'd like to give
So it's
somebody,
only about money?
I'd like to give somebody else
So
a
it's only
chance.
about money?
Young lady in the back, if I could hand up a while. Would you please stand up so everyone can hear you? Can we give everyone a chance to have their say?
You're not letting anybody finish what they have to say.
Okay, I don't think anybody realizes it, but in the last election on the news day, not this one, but they talked about the fact that it had been 21,000 years before, and now it's something like 69 or 79,000 people coming in, okay? This is a silent invasion, and they're illegal. And they are illegal. That's the only thing. That used to be that people would apply and say, I'm having a problem, somebody's gonna kill me in this place. Here they're saying, oh, groups are gonna be killed. I mean, oh, you know. Another thing, I'd like to know what happened to the money. I'd like to know what happened, I live next door. Reverend Bo was fabulous. From the minute, and I'm Catholic, and my father's Lutheran, and my mother's Catholic, okay? We love him. We don't have a fence there, because he said it was such a beautiful view, and he asked if we could say, if he could tell the builder not to put it up. Everything was so wonderful. On Sunday, you had to get your car down to the shopping center or something, because it was so crowded. It was a very, very, very good church and a very, very good congregation. What happened to it? It can't be the people's fault when that many people leave. And that was with the next people that came in.
Thank you.
I told you I got it.
Adele?
Hi, my name is Adele Flicker, I'm from Commack, also CCA member. Somebody brought up a very good point about community center, which I think is a great idea. But another thing is, we have a lot of children in Commack and areas around here who are really need the food that they get. They get breakfast served in the school district and lunches. That's probably the only 2 meals they may get for the day. In the summertime, they don't have school. They don't get those meals. Why not open it so children, our children in our own community here, who cannot afford, the parents might be ill or lost their jobs or whatever, they try and hold on to their houses and there's not enough food. Help our children in our community to eat and have a place to be safe.
Those are some of the type of services that Lutheran Social Services will offer if there's an interest in that community. So that's something we can definitely explore for.
Young lady over here.
I'm Dawn Roderick from Commack. I've been here 19 years. It just seems to me that this is an easy solution that fell in the lap of the church in a time when they're in need of financial, revenue. And even when people ask, I'm curious, what other alternatives have been sought? And it doesn't seem like there's other things being sought out. People are mentioning ideas, but Pastor Walker said no proposals have been made. But from what the other Pastor Herbst, I believe, had said, this should come from the congregation and you, looking for ways to help people in the 5 lenses of whatever direction you want to go in. So this isn't that this should fall in your lap, this is things you and your congregation should seek out.
We are in the process.
And it should be something, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going on, but I want to say, I know they said that there's communication with the community, but as part of the process. But how much weight is put on that? You could see how the community feels, and I mean, if there's 1% weight put on that, but 99% put on the financial relief to the church, that doesn't seem like that's going to work either, and that's something that I'm very unclear on. And I mean, you mentioned that there's a Montessori school that might move into that space. I'm sure that won't bring the millions or the thousands that the federal government, which is our federal tax money, that's not a soothing thing to us, that it's federal money, that's still our taxes coming to support these programs. So is that going to take more weight because it's more money over the Montessori school moving in, or any of the other good suggestions?
If I can talk from more of a macro position as in charge of ministries, if you look at a location, no matter what service they provide, in order to sustain that ministry, you have to attract people in the community and engage them. Otherwise, if you're going to go for the big buck and you're going to upset the neighborhood, yeah, sure, you're going to have a program there, but you know what? You're no longer ministering to the neighbors, the people that are closest to you. They're not going to find you as being a welcoming environment. Then you open it up. So that's not the approach you have to take. an approach is to reach out to the community, have this dialogue. And the emotions are high here, and I appreciate that. And the concerns are legitimate. But if you're gonna move forward, how do we serve the community best? How do we provide to your needs? And that has to
I hope
be
that's
both
what's
ways.
considered.
Yes, we will consider, JKL, we understand the community likes their service, and we have liked them. We have a good relationship with them, and they will count heavily in our
And the community
calculations.
uses them.
Yes.
The American children here use them.
Thank you. Young lady in the back?
Yes, one thing I want to say to this gentleman here, that bill from 2008 was to protect children who were harmed or raped, not for all these immigrants that are coming in, is that right?
It's under the same law that these kids are coming in, yes.
Yes,
The
you're
law
right.
is broad enough to be also handling some of the risks that these kids face in their home community. threats
Their
from
home
gangs and-
community? Okay, I'm a mother, I would not send my child on a journey like that. And I don't think other mothers would too, so that's ridiculous. And second of all, as far as you're concerned, you're being funded by the federal government, which is our money, going to these illegal immigrants that are being brought to this country by our government, and it has to stop. And you're enabling it by taking their money.
Gentleman over there.
Hi, Mike Himler. I live in Commack, right in the vicinity of the church. I think we're all here, I think pretty unanimously, we're all against this, all right? That's pretty clear. And I've heard, some pretty clear communication that we're going to build a relationship between the community and the church. But I think we all here sort of have this feeling of a little bit of smoke and mirrors and political aspects to this, right? So to Pastor Walker, I'd like a very specific answer. You lead your congregation. Where are they on this issue?
Well, we haven't had much opportunity to talk to them.
But you lead the congregation. I mean, you got to know the general consensus, right? So you're either going to pursue this or you're not, based on the congregation. What's your take?
No concrete proposal's been made.
That's not the question I asked.
We're not.
I'm looking for a specific answer to a specific question.
We have to talk to our people.
So you don't know your congregation? Is that what you're saying?
So they don't know yet.
So I want an answer. So you're.
They feel like many of you. Some are opposed, some are in favor.
Is it swaying one way or the other? Your opinion?
The jury's still out. Probably most opposed.
All right,
That's just my impression.
That's fine, and I just wanted to get that stated for the room. Thank you.
We're considering feelings.
Gentleman over here.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to maybe take a vote from your parishioners as soon as possible. I mean, they're part of the community. It's clear that no one around it wants it, and they have the power, it sounds like, to squash it right away, forever. Forget about a year, forget about 3 years. I think that's a pretty fair request, or maybe to let us speak to them. But I think that's a pretty fair request.
My name is Stacy. I'm a Commack resident for over 40 years. I grew up here. I bought a home back in Commack with my family to raise my children in Commack. We are a wonderful community that stick together. And in just listening to some of the things that you've been saying, Pastor, I'm just confused about some of that. I just want to ask one question. You just mentioned that if you had to see which way it was swaying, that your congregation is leaning more towards not being in favor of this, as well as the community. Laura just proposed some really great ideas, and publicly, I feel like we're putting you in a position, and I don't want to turn up the heat, but why not make a public promise to the community right now, publicly, that you are willing to give our community an opportunity and your congregation, who's leaning towards being against this, to help get you out of your financial trouble in other ways. We have, on Long Island in general, we have a growing epidemic of heroin use. Let's get these kids off the streets, off these ridiculous party drugs, get them into a community center. Do something for us. I teach in Nassau County. We were talking about the kids that only eat hot meals. We send backpacked food home to our children because when they go home after their Friday slice of pizza, they're not getting another hot meal so they come back to school on Monday. These are Long Island American citizens, documented paper citizens. And I feel like we are a great country. We are always going to help others, but it's time to look within our own community and help. And make that public promise. I'm sorry I turned it to you. But I think it would be a great opportunity for you.
Do you want to respond?
Yeah, we will consider your request.
So it's a public promise. I don't want to consider. You want to dance with me. You dance around all your answers. You're a great politician. And I'm sorry because I'm Jewish. So I mean, whatever. I'm the bad person here. But I
think what he's saying is he can't make a promise for his congregation.
He can't, no, not for his congregation's not for it. Can you make a public promise to us now that you would give us, as a community, with your church, to work together to come up with a better solution? Take that other solution, your choice, off the table for 2 years. Can you make a public promise? Just let's give him at least a little bit of time so we can work on it. Let's give him a little time. He won't even make that. I would really appreciate it if you could do that.
What can I say except I will consider?
I don't want you to know, it's either yes or no.
That's what.
But considering says he's not making a public promise.
That's right.
So wait, are we clear you're not making a public promise?
Can I speak for a second? Wait.
No, I
Give him a chance
I like
to
that
answer.
I'm sorry, I want the, no, but I'm honestly asking you, it's either yes or no.
Public promise to consider the.
No, get the word consider. Will you take this off the table? Yes or no, publicly, so that we can work as a community to help you.
Can you have a vote this Sunday with your parishioners?
And the idea of the drug-related.
I mean, there's such a growing use of heroin. Children are dying by it.
I used to be a member. Whoa. Hold on. Yeah, we're all gonna get a chance.
Don't give me the opportunity to miss my question. Don't do that.
I don't think you're gonna get another answer. That's what I'm saying.
But he only has to say no. Is that what you're saying? You're not gonna make that promise?
He can't make the promise to you.
He can't. The word consider means nothing.
He can't make the promise.
Undocumented. If I'm driving my car undocumented, I go to jail because it's illegal. So it's like the undocumented part, like everything's dancing around the truth. I'm not attacking, I just want an answer, yes or no.
Do you want to give him another?
I'm not authorized.
The answer is no.
Okay.
So that when you were talking,
No, wait.
he's saying he's not making a promise.
Wait. Give other people a chance to speak.
My name is Jeff Bertuccio. I've been in Commack 30 years. I'm a past vice president of the church. I was on the council, okay? I'm not a member there any longer, okay? I left the church probably about 30 years ago. No, 20 years ago. I was actually one of the people that got Montessori school in the church 20 years ago when they ran into financial difficulties. And I was personally involved with getting an organization to get into the church that was good for the community and also help the church out at the same time. To answer your question, to my knowledge, 20 years ago, the pastor doesn't have the authority to make that decision. It would be the council.
Exactly.
Now, the question I have is that, Pastor Walker, has the council voted on any of this yet? That's the question I have. It has not.
Can we notify?
No, I just wondered. I wondered if it came up at a council meeting saying, pursue it, or look further into it, or let's drop it. Because that would actually
Can I ask you a question,
come.
because I don't know background of the church, I just want to ask you because I don't understand.
Sure.
So if the council is going to meet on this, does the community have a say in that council meeting?
No, actually it does
Is it
not.
closed?
No,
I'm trying to understand
the
something that's
council.
not
The
true.
council is part of the congregation, and it gets voted on. The members of the council get voted on from the congregation to take certain positions. To my knowledge, this is the way it was 20 years ago. Is the congregation. First, the council turns around and decides if they want to do something. Then it has to be brought up to the congregation. If the congregation then approves it, then they go forward with it.
So they still don't go behind the community's back, it would have to come to the.
No, it'd have to go to the congregation, you know? Now, of course, to my knowledge, it sounds like the congregation doesn't want it. I'm not sure about the council, but, but again, I just feel that, and I've already said at the last meeting, I would be willing to go back and turn around and give my time to see if I can get another group into the church that would be good for the community and to eliminate these illegal aliens. I feel for the little kids, but I feel for my own kids first. And I think we need to look into that, not to turn around to take on, this church is too small, it's too small of a community.
Thank you. We're here for a win-win.
Hold on, Mike.
We keep talking about the council met. That Monday, was there supposed to be a proposal that day and we interrupted it? Because this is the application, 46 pages, that the church would have to fill out and follow to be able to have the space there, okay? So the day we showed up, was there somebody from either Lutheran Services or the federal government gonna give that presentation and we interrupted and it got squashed? So if that's the case, let's say that's a yes, that was the 4th, today's the 19th. What happened over the last 2 weeks that you guys couldn't get together and talk about it? This is the proposal you would have gotten. Well, I got this in, okay? And anybody here could download any of the stuff we're talking about tonight. And so was this supposed to be a proposal by somebody from LSS or the federal government on the floor?
LSS called, as I said earlier, and inquired if they would want to hear about the proposal.
Right.
There was a representative from LSS scheduled to come down who did not make the presentation.
Right.
That application you have most likely would not be filed by Holy Cross. It would be by Lutheran Social Services.
Right.
So what they have and what they have on file, I have no knowledge of.
Okay, so the presentation was supposed to happen that Monday?
Not for that council meeting, not necessarily for the vote.
Right, so since that Monday, which was more than 2 weeks ago.
But generally a council doesn't meet, they meet monthly. It's a typical.
Right. But under the circumstances, would you think that let's get together and figure this out? I'm not going to push any further.
There's interest to do that.
Right, and I just want to bring that up because this has been, we kind of, even tonight a little bit, we're losing focus. Is this the right place? Right. Is this the right place?
You're right, Mike.
And we're talking about all these other things, immigration, stuff like that, but what we need to ask ourselves, is this the right place for the situation you want to put in there? And, that's what needs to be asked of the council and the congregation. So if we can move forward with that, we could probably get better answers from the church. So I just wanted to bring that up, because with Dan's I guess, that's what get together. And let's move on. Says Greg, I know that there's going to be changes and stuff like that. But if the congregation or the council is going to vote on it, or vote yes, then move on to the congregation, let us know. And then that issue will be up. Are we going to wait for the next pastor and have this in limbo for another 2 years? I think we have a right to. I think the community should know where you stand. That's my position. I don't, I'm not gonna make you answer the questions, but get together and figure it out.
Before I go on to people for second questions, is there anyone who hasn't had a chance to ask a question?
Bruce.
Who haven't had a chance?
Bruce.
Okay.
Mike, was there an answer to that question? I missed it.
I really don't, I'm not
it's not a question, it's a suggestion.
Get together. And we've been sitting around for 2 weeks and bouncing some basic.
Bruce.
Okay. Got your chance.
I know right now things are on hold. We don't know if you are gonna ever go forward with this or not. If you do go forward with it, will you have to, the church, working with the federal government, have to follow the Smithtown building codes, the laws within Smithtown? Or because it's with the federal government, does that give the federal government the right to do whatever they want and to build as big as they want and high as they want? And, that's a concern. I live right across the street from it. My driveway goes into the church's parking lot. That's a concern. And if you do go forward with it, you're telling us 3 years, probably be longer. I know things cannot be put in stone as to how long, but then when this program is finished, as Mike mentioned earlier, what will it then become?
Generally speaking, most of these would be internal construction changes. It wouldn't be outside the exterior, so talking about going up. That hasn't usually been practice for any of these types of programs that we go in. So it would be like similar to a retail space. If somebody goes, you would change, they're not gonna change the outside of the structure. At least conceptually, without a proposal here, I can't say, but that's generally been the process at other locations.
It just
for
seems that to
social
house
service.
40 kids there, it seems very small, plus the staff that'll be working there, plus a fact that it is on Jericho Turnpike, and you are mentioning some of the kids could be as small as 4 years old. What if one of these kids gets loose on the property? Boom, right into Jericho Turnpike. We have a lot of traffic there, a lot of accidents. You know, I understand you want to help kids, but it's not the right place. We have a lot of congestion where we are right here. It's going to bring more congestion with the workers, with the families coming in, and the buses every 30 days shipping these kids through. A lot of noise and disruption within the neighborhood for the houses that are right there. So that's just something, you know, hopefully you're taking into consideration and realizing. But again, then what happens to whatever structure you do on the inside? You're gonna use it for housing again for others, some sort of.
It's gonna be rotation.
I know you don't know, but it's just something that the community, this is what we're concerned about. This is
That's the
what we're
best answer
concerned
I can give
about.
at this point for conception. It never got beyond.
Right, I understand that, but just so you know what our concerns are, because we do live right there, and we have enough, you know, of noise and things going on there as it is. And as far as the house on the corner, they're quiet as could be, there's like she said, 8. I live right next door to them, I've been living there for 15 years. I don't even know they're there. I don't even know they're there, there's no chaos going on over there. And they're disabled, they're there with things, they have needs and stuff, so.
And they go out.
They're out.
Young lady over here.
Hi, my name is Maureen Gager. My family has been in Commack since, I would say, 1963. I raised my children here as well, and I really feel like it's an imposition for an outside agency like Lutheran Social Services to make a phone call that is now changing all our lives and not really finding out what the needs are in our community. This is a great idea maybe, but it's not gonna meet the needs of our community, our children, our people who are elderly, our youngsters. We have needs too. And so I think it really needs to be addressed that this is our community and our community needs should come first. And you know, it's nice to help the outside world, but your own backyard is where you should be helping. We do have children that need help, we do have elderly that need help, we have disabled people that need help, and that's, you know, where this.
We respect your feeling.
Thank you.
Anybody else who has not had a chance to ask a question? Over here. Yes, sir.
Hi, David Morris. I live 2 doors down, Ravina Drive. It's not a question, it's more of a solution. No problem with the church. I was born and raised there, baptized in the church, have good memories. Obviously, parishioners have fallen off and are in arrears. I have a solution for the housing. Thousands of FEMA trailers that are unused down south, thousands of them, house hundreds of thousands of people. We can set them up on the White House lawn. The Capitol building and the Washington Monument. Plenty of space, plenty of security, plenty of acreage, it's already paid for, all the security, everything's already paid for. Problem solved.
Bruce, over here. I got a question.
Dan Fusco.
All right, first I wanted to first thank the Reverend for coming and affording us an opportunity to be enlightened about your plans. I mean, that goes to the whole panel that's here. Because I came to the church one and I saw everybody was getting a little out of hand and we were asked to leave. So I appreciate the fact that you came down here. I wanted to mention to the community that the Reverend is a member of this association and he's concerned about this community because he comes to every one of our meetings. So it's not like this is his first shot at talking to the community and seeing what's going on in this community. He comes to every one of our meetings. And if they have ideas, with you people not being involved in an association like this, you don't know what their ideas are. So I encourage you all to join the association so that you can be enlightened when he comes up with his ideas of what they want to do with the properties.
for the plug.
Well, also, I think we're getting a little misguided, because I think most of the comments I hear tonight are federal issues. Your issues are with the federal government. They're just trying to solve a problem, and I'm not saying I'm for it. By no means am I for doing this. But I think what your issues are with the federal government. I think you need to talk to your congressman and send emails, whatever you got to do. Well, we're all complaining as a community, and you're not going to resolve it at a community level. You got to solve it through your congressmen and your senators.
Have you had a chance to do it?
Well, I didn't vote for Obama, so.
Wait, hold the crosstalk. Give this gentleman a chance to have a say.
So he has my
That's not accurate. I thought it was, but it's actually less than that.
Okay, so if it's less than that, and you guys have been struggling, what have you done before this actually fell in your lap to resolve that?
No, we attempt to urge our people to give and to
I mean, I
keep our needs
I
in
live
mind.
across the street, I've
We
seen
attempt
no
to-
bake sales, no Chinese auctions,
We had
no
a-
car washes, no
we had a car
fundraising.
wash in July.
There's nothing community-wise where we can help you out.
Nobody even
We had a
knows.
car wash. We did well with it.
Do it again, whatever it takes. I'm just saying, I mean,
Anyone else? The first question. Stella.
This is not a question, but Pastor, could you call an emergency meeting like Bruce called here with your community and the congregation? And, you know, talk about the stuff that went on here and also, you know, let them hear how everybody feels.
Talk to my council.
Yeah, talk to your council and just, we could get together in your church or wherever, right?
Wherever we're invited, we go. The gentleman in the back.
If the Reverend has this meeting, I hope everybody will be invited. Is it an open meeting?
No.
Why not?
Well, we have,
Wait a minute, what?
the Community Association has an executive board. We meet as an executive board and we make decisions that we bring to the membership. That's not an open meeting. Membership meetings are open meetings. But the executive board meetings are not open meetings. That's generally how things are
Can I
done.
say one more thing?
Sure.
Now, we're only a little group here. There's 350 million people in the United States. We're tired of having stuff jammed down our throats.
Hi, as to what you were saying about everyone talking about the federal government, maybe you missed what 5 of us were saying about a community center because we need to help our children.
Hey, we're trying to put one together down at the Marion Carl
40 hours a
Farm.
week, I'm willing to volunteer. I just spoke with Debbie Berger outside. We are willing to come up with a proposal to you. Me and Debbie are gonna work together and come up with a proposal to your congregation, and hopefully you will accept it. And we will work with you, and I am willing to volunteer. And as for the drug epidemic, I am a drug and alcohol counselor. I will volunteer my time at that center to anybody in the community.
I just think that the biggest concern for a lot of us is that we will not have a voice in this. So I understand that you have procedures that you need to follow and some of the meetings have to be closed. But I think I would feel better leaving here with the promise that if you were moving on and your parishioners did have to take a vote, that we would have the same opportunity that we had here to voice our opinions. The way I'm looking at you in the eye and the way I'm looking at everybody in the eye, to look them in the eye and let them know how it's going to affect us. And I think that's the concern, is that there's a fear that because of the way the procedures are set up, it really could be voted upon by your congregation without them really hearing from us in this sort of type of forum. So I think that's what the concern is, and I'm hoping that if you do go to a vote, that they can at least hear from us as well, the way you listened to us tonight.
Before he answers, I just want to let everyone know that everything that is done tonight has been recorded and will be available on YouTube to anyone, his congregation included.
Right, but we have no guarantee that they can.
I understand, I just want to tell you that. Reverend, do you want to say anything to that?
Yeah, we would, I'm sure the congregation would consider your idea because of the emotional nature of this issue.
We're not here to beat anybody up. I just think that it's only fair for a small congregation in a much larger community for us to have a voice to them as well. Instead of for whatever it is, 30, 40 people to be able to make such a large decision for a much bigger community that's going to be affected.
And I just want to mention, like, my concern about the forthcomingness and the honesty. Like, I know Michael had actually asked about the meeting on August 4th and whether Lutheran Social Services had a representative that was supposed to speak. That wasn't even answered by Pastor Walker. Pastor Ernst had to answer. So there's that secrecy again. So I'm leaving here because of that one exchange, feeling that we are still trying to hide information. And I mean, I think honesty is an important thing in a church, and the fact that we're not even getting it at this meeting is very concerning to me, because once the assistant to the bishop leaves, and it's the congregation and the pastor, and there's supposed to be continuing dialogue, if we can't get honest answers and get forthcoming answers when a question is asked. That was a very straightforward question. Was a representative from Lutheran Social Services there to speak to the council, yes or no? And that was just kind of like not answered. You know, I just want to mention that's a concern of mine, because if that's the way dialogues are going to go, I don't think it's fair to the community.
Well, okay, I accept your criticism. What he said, what Mark said was accurate. It was
Why didn't you say it? You were the one who questioned me.
Can you, hold it?
I apologize for stepping on his toes. I really should have.
He knew the answer and he didn't want to give it.
I stepped on his toes.
So that's lying from the church. I mean,
It's
that's
not.
like,
It was the answer.
good.
No, but I was asking the question, that's the only reason I'm continuing to talk, it's just that, in my opinion, he wasn't answering it, and he didn't. I just want to plug this.
I guess I just feel it's a community church, and I want to see Holy Cross continue. I want to see an outreach to the community, and I think it does open up a dialogue. I'm happy in a way that we all now understand, and maybe things could change, and maybe something really positive for the community and outside the community could happen. But I guess the one thing is, what if that one little rumor didn't sneak out that night that set everyone to head to the church? What if they would have approved it right then and there without even, I say if you wanna come to the proposals, put a sign on the front lawn, we're considering doing something that affects you. If you wanna come on by, I mean, it is a neighborhood church, and I wanna see that church continue and continue doing good work. But you do have, I feel like, what if that rumor didn't get out? It could have been voted on and passed right then and there, and we just would have been, sorry. Another thing that we wouldn't be aware of, that we just have to live with. Right, so.
We were gonna bring the community in, but not at that point.
But it might have been too late if August 5th was the deadline. And let's all work together now and help the church be in our community and help within our community and outside our community, because it's a fantastic thing.
How can the council vote on it without the viewpoint of the community? So I guess my question, if you said you have not presented to the council yet, right? They have not voted on it. You have not sent it to the council. So you've not done any vote, council done any vote. So then who presents the opposition view or the community view to the proposal? I mean, if it's you, you said this is a very similar facility to the group home across the street from your church, which it clearly is not, so I don't know how educated you are on what this is. So I guess who presents the community's viewpoint?
Well, I can present it.
You don't know the project. You don't know the project. So can Mike come? Can we come? Can we be a part of that? Because all you're doing is dangling money, renovation in front of the council. Of course they're going to say yes. But the effect on the community, no one's there to present that. So we can be there for it. Not for the vote, but just to present it. I think someone should show our viewpoint, show the community theirs. It's really easy to say yes, and if we're not presenting what,
During my presentation, I said one of the most important things is to have a communications program which would engage all stakeholders, which naturally is the community. That has to be essential to make this a success if you're going to go forward with this program.
But you were going to do the vote on that day that everyone stormed the church?
There was no vote scheduled, it was simply someone coming in to make a presentation.
And then you were gonna come to the community and ask for our opinion?
At that point, normal process would be that we would go out and you can't present anything to an outside group when you don't even know what it was.
So that was the intent, you were gonna go out to the community and explain that.
Young lady in the back?
Yes, and I just wanted to know, I called the church to ask, you know, who is going to be housed there? When were you going to tell us that there were going to be teenagers there? Those are the ones you were going to house.
Well, that would have been part of the program to engage the community after, if we decided to go forward.
Well, I was told
What the
that
nature
that
of
was
the
going to
pro-
be for the teenagers, not the young children that they show us on TV.
Well, that, again, we didn't have a concrete proposal, so the range could have been anywhere from 4 to 17.
No, she told me the teenagers.
And, you know, it would be, because it would be a transit center, the ages would change according to the people in the system.
But there was no proposal made, so we can't really identify. We hear that they have to be.
Then why did they tell me that it would be the teenagers?
Because that's what we've heard. There's been so much information, people are
That
saying
came
things.
from the church, because I called the church.
And then based on their information that was available. But everything is, the way this rolled out without all the facts, it's been very difficult. And that's what's caused the high anxiety level.
Young lady in the back in the corner.
I just want to say one thing, it might be a solution to go after the governor of New York, because the governor of North Carolina is refusing to accept any.
Thank you. Gentlemen?
Quick question is that, since it's to my knowledge, it's the congregation's final word on this thing, what actually is the criteria of a member or someone to join the church, become part of the congregation these days? Do you know exactly?
You have to be baptized, be a community member.
Right.
Usually it can happen by education or by profession.
Is there a time frame involved?
That'd be a good time to raise a membership fee, I think.
Might be a way to bring in more funds into the church. And also get a word out, because if you could get more people involved in the church itself, that's who's making the last word, is the congregation. They're the ones with the decision.
You're not suggesting we say that we're going to put this program unless we all join the church.
But I'm just wondering, I'm saying that you've got people that are concerned, maybe past members, or people in the community that may be churchless, that might want to turn around and be more involved with this particular congregation.
People are welcome.
Before we adjourn, any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
I'd like to say you quoted Yogi Berra in the beginning, quote him at the end.
Okay, good.
It isn't over till it's over. We're not gonna let this happen. I'll tell you right now, what's the upside for us as Commack residents? 43 years in this town. You know, what is that gonna do for us by letting all these illegals live here?
We're importing poverty. Wait,
My name is Teresa Burke, and I'm a resident here my whole life, my whole family. I was kind of proud to be sitting in this room with so many people coming out to hear more information about something that obviously hasn't even gotten to the point of a proposal. But what I would be so much more proud of being a resident here is if you continue this by either coming to a community like the Commack Community Association, not only for the points that are being discussed tonight, but for the community in whole. There are so many good organizations out there and people in need that this one thing sparked this many. But think about it. The only way you're going to be heard and that you're going to get information is when you be warm, when you start becoming a member and start listening and talking and hearing what people are saying. And this is what we've been doing for 6 years with this Commack Community Association. We've been trying to get Commack members to come out, all ages, to listen. The minister has been there every meeting. So if you want to be heard and you're not one to go to the church to be heard, come to our meetings, sign up for our emails, get the word out, send us your information, and you'll be heard. And that's the only thing I can say. I'm very proud about how many people showed up here, but I would love for you guys to continue showing up and voicing it and being there. This is why I'm standing up here right now.
Now you do.
Now you know that. And if you want, my name is Teresa Burke. I said you can give me your name and email address, and I will make sure you get invited to the next meeting, and that your voices will be heard going forward. But that's all I can do. It's on all of you. And I would love our membership to triple, quadruple, and get those the elderly, the ones, the young kids, everyone involved, get those youth programs up and running. And if it's at the church, then it's at the church. If it's running bake sales, we'll run bake sales. Garage sales, we'll run garage sales. We'll help each and every church organization that needs.
Rachel, when is our next meeting?
It's September. I am circulating a legal start pad.
It's September what? The last Monday of September. The last Monday of September at the other library. At the other library, the library on Hog Road and Commack Road. All right, before we adjourn, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. I know this was a very emotional issue, and I'm glad that everyone had a chance to say what they wanted to say about this and to ask their questions. And I hope that we can continue as a community association to do that. I have membership applications right here, and we would love for you to join us, and this is the kind of work that we do.
But in a civil way.
And also, Reverend, would you tell everyone how they can get in touch with you if they want to help the church? A lot of people said they want to help you. Tell them how to get in touch with you.
Call us at 543-6783 and offer whatever suggestions or help you feel appropriate. We'll listen.
And I am sure they will get back to you.
He's open every Sunday at 10:30.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Adele?
Yes.
Seconded by Teresa, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.